Hey everyone, it's Nate. Today I'm going to show you the top 5 things that you need to know before you buy a car. Every single one of these is imperative. Do not go anywhere. Let's get it. Welcome back everyone. My name is Nate and I'm here to help you master your money. Alright guys, so we're back, another video. I'm here to tell you guys about all the things that you needed to know before you buy a car. Now I know that buying a car it's a couple things. It's an exciting experience, but it's also pretty stressful too. Salesmen being pushy and checking out different things and making a decision, and it's a lot. It is a lot. So before you even step foot on the dealership grounds, you need to do your homework first. We got to get these things sorted out so you can get the ride that fits your needs the best and have it not totally derail you financially. This is a couple very important things to consider and to know and to look out for. I'm going to highlight every single one, and I'm going to kind of tell you a little nightmare scenario at the very end that I encountered and had to deal with. So stick around. It's going to be good. And I just need to say real quick, someone left a thing down below. It's an unsmashed like button, and that is not allowed. And so I need you to just demolish it. Okay, so before you do anything, you got to make sure that you can actually afford a car payment. Typically, a car payment should not exceed 15% of your take-home income. So if you're bringing home $1,000 a month, it would really not be a good idea to go above having a payment that is $150 or more. Keep it under that. That will significantly help you out. Also, the lower your car payment is in relation to your income, it's going to help you get approved for a loan more easily. So another part of this finance piece is going to be to consider financing. So if you're going to pay for your car using a loan or financing it as it's called, you're going to want to make sure that your credit is in order. So if your credit score is like 4, we're going to need to have a conversation about that. And I've already kind of put together a video on how to build your credit, and that's going to be linked right up here somewhere. And that's a very helpful guide on how to boost your credit from wherever it's at now to a respectable number that can help you save money in the long run. But seriously, there are some tips and things in there that can help you increase your credit score pretty quickly. So go check that out, follow the steps in there, and that will help you to be able to get a good rate on the loan for your car. Another consideration with this step is going to be a down payment. So before you go to the dealership, you need to figure out how much of a down payment you can afford. So typically, if you have a lower credit score, they will require a down payment. That's not going to be the situation with everyone everywhere. And in some places, they won't even require a down payment, so you may get lucky with that. But it really depends on the dealership and also the banks that they're applying for loans for you with. Okay, the next step is going to be to research. So when I say research, that means a lot of things. It's a pretty big, dense section. I'm going to try and make it as streamlined and understandable as possible. But essentially, you're making a purchase which you're going to be paying for a long time. So you want to do your research, do your homework to make sure it's going to work the best for you, that you can afford it, and that it's going to outlast your loan. Because it'd be really crummy to go ahead and buy a car and have it only last like 2 years before it explodes. So specifically, I would heavily and thoroughly advise never ever buy a heavily used BMW. Just stay away from them. Like their cost of ownership and everything is 5 times higher than like the next most expensive car, like a normal car. Don't do that. Avoid BMWs, especially used ones like the So the first step in researching is going to be to figure out what kind of car that you want to get, really. So what's going to fit your needs? So if you're driving a long way for work, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to get a pickup truck or a large SUV. But what best suits you would be a commuter car or a small coupe, something that's more fuel efficient, that it has a longer lifespan to it, and is going to be easier to drive in packed roads and dense cities. Alternatively to this, if you work in a rural area or you work in construction or in the blue-collar trade, you're probably going to want to consider getting a pickup truck. There's many uses for it, And really, this is a way for you to help with your work and what you do. So when you're picking the kind of car you're going to get, consider what you do every day. Yes, it may be nice and fun to go get a Jeep, but if you don't leave the pavement like ever, or even consider doing that, don't do that. They're cool, but they're terrible to drive. I promise you. I rented one recently. It was not the most pleasant experience. So after you've considered what kind of car is going to work best for you, now you want to compare the various models in that type of vehicle you determined as to what works best for you. So you want to consider things like reliability, fuel efficiency, fair market values for the vehicles, value retention, that's a big one, that's an important one, and then also cost of maintenance. These are 5 big factors that are contribute to your total out-of-pocket cost now and long-term for the vehicle that you're planning to buy. Okay, so once you determine what is going to be the very best make and model car for you, the next step you're going to want to do is to shop around. So I'm going to go ahead and address this thing first and just say, I 100% guarantee you, the local place near your house that's super convenient to get to, they probably don't have the best deal in the area on your car. Yes, it may be convenient, but trust me, when you're going to be paying for something over the course of several years, you want to make sure you get a good deal on it. So personally, what I would do is I would set a range for like 100 miles around where you live, and then search on AutoTrader or Cars.com and search for the make and model of car that you want, and also set some parameters too, like max mileage on the vehicle and the year range that you want, several things like that to kind of narrow down what you want, and then compare all the prices in your area of that vehicle. Odds are someone in that 100-mile radius is going to have a really good deal on the car you're looking for, and if you go ahead and call them up and ask them a few questions, you can figure out whether going to them is going to be worth your time. So when you're at this step, calling around to various dealerships, you're also going to want to ask about the value of your trade-in, if you have one. So what this means is if you have a car that you're going to be trading in exchange for getting the new car, they could take the value of the car you're bringing in and put it towards the total price of the new one. So let's say one of the dealerships has the car you're looking to get, and they have it priced for $10,000, and they're going to give you $1,000 as a credit towards your vehicle purchase when you trade in your old car. This brings the net cost of that vehicle down to $9,000. But another dealership, let's say they have the car listed for $12,000, but if you bring in your car, they'll give you a $4,000 credit towards your car. Yes, the sticker price of your car is a little bit higher, but when you factor in the trade-in, it brings the net cost down to $8,000, which is cheaper than the other car. So definitely look around, ask these questions, ask about the value of the trade-in, and then ask about any specials they have too that can help you out as well. Okay, so this next step is going to be to test drive. Yes, you want to test drive your car, and it's a step here, and this is very important. You're going to have this car for potentially several years or more. You could have it for the rest of your life. And so the test drive is the time where you take a look at how the vehicle performs, how it feels to drive in, and how comfortable it is, how practical it is, just several different things like this. And really this time is for you to determine if this car is going to be usable and comfortable for you every day. So when you're doing a test drive, you're going to want to take the vehicle in various different driving scenarios to see how it behaves. Take it onto some dirt if you can. Take it onto maybe a rougher patch of road. Take it on a straightaway. Take various turns. See how it behaves. See if there's any wobbles or body roll or anything like that. If it behaves weird when it's on dirt, or if it behaves weird when it's wet out, if it's raining. Whatever the situation is, just try it in various scenarios to try and get a feel for how the car behaves. Also, one thing to consider in this is going to be the size of the vehicle. So if you're looking at a few different vehicles and one is absolutely massive, but you live in a pretty urban area, it may not make the most sense to go with that one. So I would honestly go drive that one around in some of the more congested areas of town, see how you can parallel park or just navigate through narrow streets, see how it feels, because you're going to be using this every day. And it'll be really unfortunate for you to go ahead and buy this car and have it just be an absolute nightmare to drive. So a couple years ago when my wife and I were shopping for a car, we were taking a look at a few different items, and one of the ones we were more excited about was the Jeep crossover SUV we looked at. And initially it looked great, it was a cool looking car, we were excited to try it out, and we got in it, and it was an absolute nightmare. It was cramped inside, it felt weird, it drove weird, and we ended up not going with it just because it was not at all what we thought it was going to be. Instead, we ended up going with the Chevy Equinox, which is a crossover. It's a pretty good sized vehicle. It's comfortable. It rides really well. It has a lot of neat features with it, and it just fit our budget perfectly. We actually got an incredible deal on it because someone had bought it brand new, put a few hundred miles on it, and then brought it back to the dealership. So we effectively got a brand new car for $10,000 off of sticker price. So you could find deals like that, and I would highly recommend when you're searching, search for used cars with like under 5,000 miles, because those are basically brand new cars, but at used car prices. So I would look for that. It's a really great deals if you can find those, but those typically they don't last too long. And so the last thing with this step is going to be to check the car accident history. My goodness, this is the time where you want to look at all that. It is so imperative to do so. Do this. If there's accidents on there, if there's weird maintenance things on there for various collision things, just check it out thoroughly. Go through the entire thing. Make sure the vehicle has a clean history, because if you buy this vehicle, the dealership may be pricing this car at a number that is assuming, there's no accidents with it, there's no problems with it, it hasn't been an accident. But in reality, it's actually worth several $1,000s less. So when you're going through the vehicle history report and you see an accident, you can go ahead and ask the sales guy to take money off the price of the car because there's an accident on the record. Or you can even walk away from the deal altogether if you determine that damage is just too much and you don't want to deal with that kind of a thing. So the last step here is the negotiate step. And I know this can be very uncomfortable for some people, but this is the point where you can really save yourself quite a bit of money if you do things the right way and you just kind of know your stuff. So with this, it helps to do your homework beforehand and to know various things. And I'll just tell you some of the practices that some car dealerships will do to make a few extra dollars at the time of closing on the car. So when you go to close on your car, they're going to give you a summarized sheet of all the various charges and credits being applied to your transaction. And you'll want to look through those because they'll try and sneak some various things in there, like some stalking fees or some like convenience fees, things like that. They put these in here to amplify the price up somewhat artificially so that they have a little more bottom line. And I understand they're a business and they have to make money, but there is profit already built into the price of the car. And those little items, those little fees, those are extra. So if you go ahead and negotiate those away in exchange for something else, so you want to be wary of these items they're going to try and tack on to the final bill for the car, because they'll try and sneak things in there. It's not super honest sometimes. Some places will do this, not everyone, but I've seen it more often than not. So you really need to be vigilant about this, because if not, you may end up paying a couple $1,000s more for the car that you're hoping to get. So the main item that's negotiated in the negotiating section of this is going to be the price itself. So if you did your homework earlier and researched the proper values of the car you're looking at, you can get a rough idea of how much things should be to a certain extent. And so if the car is a bit overvalued, you can go ahead and say, hey, I know this car is worth $5,000, but you have it priced here $8,000, so I want you to lower this or else I'm leaving. And they'll actually go with that. Seriously, I know it sounds kind of odd to do that, and it feels really weird to negotiate like that. It's a weird thing to do. It is. But they will have wiggle room. They plan to have wiggle room, and this is not like going to buy a coffee or an apple. There's no wiggle room with that. With buying a car or any big purchases like this, there is wiggle room for several different factors. So with negotiating, if they can't decrease the price of the car or give you more money for the car you're trading in, what you can do is request other items instead of that. So one item you can request is actually an extended warranty. What this is saying if anything happens over what you already are insuring for, you'll replace it. So this is going to be various things that just break in the car. And if they break within a certain time period, they'll cover it. And that's one item that they can possibly do. Another item like this is going to be to negotiate to get free oil changes. So every car, except for Elon Musk's little electric babies, they need an oil change. So it's going to be a thing. You're going to have to do it every 3 to 6 months. It keeps the car running and functioning normally, and it can be expensive sometimes. So if you can negotiate this into the final deal, you could potentially not pay for oil changes for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But potentially, you never know. So the last item with this negotiation stage is going to be the down payment. So when you go to actually pay for the car, you've selected your vehicle, you know what you're going to get, and you're getting ready to pay for things and figuring that out, you've already determined how much you can put as a down payment on your car previously, and you know how much you can afford, and you know how much you can afford per month because we talked about that earlier as well. And so when you get near to the end of the whole process, they're going to give you some numbers for your monthly payment. And when they do this, you can do a couple of things. To decrease your monthly payment, you can increase your down payment. And so there's a ratio here. So for every $1,000 that you put as a down payment, you decrease your monthly payment by about $15. I would recommend that you put a down payment that is high enough that it will help you get a better rate or just help you get approved for financing in general, but not much higher than that. Because the effect that it has here is it only decreases your payment by about $15 a month. So $1,000 paid out of pocket all at once for $15 a month, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to do that, so I would really keep it as low as you can with the down payment. Again, trying to use your trade-in as most of your down payment and then using maybe a little bit of cash to bridge the difference there to get yourself financed, to get yourself a decent rate into a good car. So this has been the steps and things that you need to know before you buy a car. This is kind of a rough outline of the things I have seen and have had to be helpful for me. And so what I would really advise you to do is to look through these things and just do your research before you go look at a car. And ideally, it would help for you to know exactly what kind of car that you actually want to get before you get to the dealership. This way you're focused, you know what you want, you know the details about the car, you know the values of it, you know the trade-in value and things of this nature. All of these in combination are going to help you be able to make the best possible decision that you can when you purchase essentially what is the second most expensive thing someone ever is going to buy, which is a car. So with that said, guys, I hope this was helpful for you. I enjoyed making it, and it's been a pleasure chatting with you guys. I will see you next week. Bye-bye. So you're probably wondering why I'm holding this thing of ramen noodles. Well, here at this channel, we crossed a pretty impressive milestone last week. We made over $1 in ad revenue in 1 week. So your boy bought some nudes.